Hello everyone, my name is Tom, the Sugma Male, doing a moist Sugma style video here, and about a year ago, I put out a video on Sugma Male. This is a non-Sugma Male. I'm going to start saving that channel for high effort, long-winded, edited videos, and not just me talking into a camera like I am now. A year ago, I talked about how I quit World of Warcraft, and I think it's time that I talk about the lie that I told in that video, because I didn't quit World of Warcraft. I definitely did not quit. I started playing Classic for a while, and then I ended up going back to retail towards the end of Shadowlands once the cycle that Blizzard usually takes with the newer WoW expansions started to go through, where it's like, okay, they fixed a lot of the problems with the early expansion, and now it's somewhat playable. But I gotta say that Dragonflight has been a totally different experience. Last time when Shadowlands dropped, I'll say it straight up, like, the first day I just was not having fun. I didn't see any redeeming qualities in my enjoyment of the content whatsoever. So, but that's definitely not the case this time around, because Dragonflight has proven to be much better as far as just being enjoyable. Now, of course, it usually takes a couple weeks for the problems and the cracks in a foundation to show when it comes to expansions, but so far it seems pretty good, and that seems to be a widely held sentiment. There's also been talk about how Blizzard and the WoW team specifically has been restructuring a lot. There are new employees, there are reforms within the team addressing certain controversies that have happened in the last year. And that's great to hear. And there have been reports about the team and the newer minds within the team talking about doing a much more concise, much more constructed narrative over the next 10 years of WoW, which is very good to hear, because so far, one of my favorite things about Dragonflight is the fact that throughout the leveling experience, you start to see cinematics, you get to see cutscenes, which is something that existed in WoW prior, but it's never been to this degree. It's usually when you get to certain points spread out throughout the expansion, you'll see like a cutscene at the end of this dungeon, at the end of this raid. But throughout the story of a leveling process, I don't think that's ever really been as present as it has been with Dragonflight, which is really great because, you know, I talked about my experience with playing WoW throughout my life. I started playing when I was like 7 years old in vanilla WoW. Back then, questing was the game. You didn't queue up for dungeons to level as fast as possible. Most people were out in the world leveling, and that was when the game felt the most alive. That's a time of the game that most people look on fondly, and it's good to see an incentive in the quality of the outside content, that people aren't just queuing up for dungeons to get to level 70 as fast as possible. And I think with the exception of Legion, this is probably one of the best leveling experiences since probably Burning Crusade as far as the end time content. Now, I do want to talk about that real quick, because that's where I think I'm gonna offer some critiques that other creators and other people playing the game might not. I really hope going forward, with the amounts that they're reforming everything, and especially since Classic is in a weird place right now, because Classic is essentially over. Wrath of the Lich King is the end of Classic WoW. You can do Cataclysm, and to be honest, I would play Cataclysm because I wasn't playing the game when Cataclysm was live, so I think I would probably like to play through that, partly just because I've never really gotten to play through the story of Cataclysm. The Chromie Time leveling system is a band-aid on a larger problem with the leveling system in WoW. And as good as this expansion might be, there's still that 1 to 60 barrier for new players. So when it comes to growing the game and growing the subscriber base and making the game popular again, you really need to focus on that 1 to 60. And something I've brainstormed about a little bit is I think that it might be better to remove the traditional XP leveling system and do kind of a more like, similar to D&D, a milestone leveling system. And one of the biggest issues that I've had with myself in trying to get through the leveling content, and something that friends of mine have also expressed, is the fact that you can't get through old content. You can't get through the story of an old expansion before you've leveled out of it. So for example, when I'm leveling through Legion on alt, I can get through about 3 out of 4 of the zones before I'm level 60, or formerly level 50, and it's time for me to go on towards the most recent expansion. And that kind of sucks when it's like, you know, it's just such a not good feeling when you're playing through this story and you're getting invested and you're going through the Class Order Hall campaign, and then you hit level 50, and then there's a timer at the top of the screen like, you have 15 seconds before we're going to boot you into the main timeline, and then you have to go to Shadowlands, and there's nothing you can do about it, and it's just like, no, no, no! That's the type of thing that you gotta remedy, and I think doing a more milestone type of structure would be great. And this is where Classic comes in, because Classic WoW is basically over. I think that the resources that would go towards Classic, I think, would be better utilized going into different timelines, going through like old expansions and structuring that into like main storyline quests that are based more on a milestone type of system. And of course you can have like multiple storylines you can go just for variety. Like you can have in Wrath of the Lich King, you can do the Howling Fjord questline or the Borean Tundra questline. They ultimately lead you towards the center of Northrend, but it's different enough that both are worth doing, and you're not forcing people to go across the entire continent, because that would be a lot of content to get through to get to max level. And of course, as far as Cataclysm goes, you gotta split up the 1 to 60 experience as it was before the Shadowlands level squish and the actual endgame content of Cataclysm, because I've never gotten through the actual endgame story of Cataclysm, and I'd love to, but you can't. Even now with Chromie time, it's like, okay, 1 through 30 or so, at least this is the last time I tried doing this is how it worked. 1 through 30, you're stuck in the, what was the 1 through 60 content. And then for like the end game content, you have like a short window of time to try and get as much as you can. You know, whether you go to Hyjal or wherever, you make a dent in the story, and that's like, alright, time to go on to the next thing. Like, you've leveled out, congratulations. But also on top of that, I think it would be really cool to do like a phase, since like Chromie time, like in the canon universe of World of Warcraft, Chromie being a Bronze Drake is essentially moving you through time into the past timelines. It'd be really cool to do like a vanilla Classic Plus type Chromie time thing where it's like the old Azeroth before the Cataclysm, and you can level through that in a more retail style of the game. Because I'll be honest, that's the big thing of Classic, and that's why people wanted Classic so much. And the game has evolved so much. Video games have evolved so much. And I think revisiting some of the stories and some of the quest lines of vanilla Classic WoW would be something that people would be excited about if you could just do that in retail. Anyways, that's just how I feel. I feel like that's probably like the main thing that Blizzard really has to address as far as World of Warcraft, because we need new players. If we want the game to grow, if we want it to become like it was at the end of Wrath of the Lich King, where it was like the most popular game, the most popular MMO, if we want to get back to that point where WoW is actually popular again, you gotta address that barrier of entry. Because right now, I'm pretty sure, and correct me if I'm wrong in the comments, I'm pretty sure if you make a brand new character on a brand new account, you don't really get the Chromie time option. You have to level through BFA, which, I'm not gonna lie, I do kind of like the, at least on the Alliance side, I do like the leveling process through there, but a big problem with that is also just the dungeons. Like, the Classic era dungeons are way easier if you're brand new to the game. Because I've literally had times where I've phased into BFA era dungeons, and there's people in there who are brand new to the game, and they're getting flamed for not knowing what to do, because the mechanics in those dungeons are just much more complex. Maybe not for those of us who've been playing the game, who know how it works, but if you're a brand new player, then yeah, it's kind of difficult to jump into, whereas like the Cataclysm Classic dungeons are no-brainers, and that's usually like, if I'm just trying to like level up a character and not have to worry if I'm playing a tank and I don't want to have to really like play on a sweaty level and I just want to casually turn my brain off, I'll go for the Classic dungeons, because I just know that they're easier. I know a lot of them because I've been playing the game so long. I remember when they were the actual like vanilla dungeons, and I almost feel like retail kind of dumbed them down even more. But that's just how I'm feeling. I'm much more optimistic about the future of World of Warcraft. I'm hoping that the rest of Dragonflight is as good as the start of Dragonflight has been, and hopefully one day I can stream WoW consistently and not get 2 viewers because no one wants to watch people play WoW anymore. Unless you're one of like 4 streamers, which I'm not. So anyways, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.